Mr. Van Drunen here. Glad you could join us for a special edition of Hawk Talk in celebration of Veterans Day. I know it's kind of a cold and snowy day, but glad you could make it to school. We have a few things to share with you. First of all, we're going to share a little History Channel video that kind of explains a little bit of the history of Veterans Day as a holiday here in the United States. And we also have some words from some of our staff and students related to veterans, active duty, military, on a more personal note. And we also, to close, we'll have a video from the Department of Veterans Affairs, just kind of covers some of the branches of the military and gives a thank you. And actually, before we jump into all of those things, I do want to highlight we had a number of students participate in the local VFW's Voice of Democracy essay contest. I have 3 winners to announce, so those students are Addison Reed, Ella Weirtz, and Kate Swenson. So congratulations to all of them, and if you see them, you can give them a little round of applause. Kate's essay will be going on to the next level of competition.
Soldiers from wars both old and new march down city streets. Flags hang from homes, businesses, even car antennas. Ceremonies remember those who dutifully served their nation. It's Veterans Day, or Remembrance Day, as it's known in much of the world, a time to honor members of the armed forces. And it all began in a railroad car with a document to end the war to end all wars. World War I, also known as the Great War, shocked the global community with its unprecedented toll in human life. Untold millions were killed. Germany was running low on manpower and supplies, so they agreed to sign an armistice, or truce, in the French commander Ferdinand Foch's private railcar. On the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, all was quiet on the Western Front. The fighting had ended. Exactly 1 year later, President Woodrow Wilson decreed that Americans should observe a moment of silence at 11 a.m. to remember the armistice and to embrace the peace. Other Allied nations commemorated the peaceful anniversary as well. In England and Canada, citizens wore paper poppies. Poppies had become a symbol of the armistice. The poem Flanders Field described a one-time battlefield. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row. In America, the nation's first unknown soldier was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery on Armistice Day, 1921. He was a casualty of the Great War. Since that first memorial, other unknown soldiers from America's wars have been interred in the tomb. And it's become tradition for the president or one of his representatives to lay a wreath on the monument every November 11th. A resolution was passed in 1926 inviting all Americans to remember Armistice Day and the soldiers who fought so hard for peace. The idea caught on. By 1938, the day was marked with so many ceremonies and parades, Congress made it a legal holiday, giving people the day off work. After World War II and the Korean War, Americans wanted to open up the holiday to include not just World War I veterans, but all who served in combat. In 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower, a World War II vet himself, legally changed the U.S. Armistice Day to Veterans Day, honoring those who served in all American wars. For a brief time starting in 1971, Congress moved the holiday to the 4th Monday in October, giving Americans a 3-day weekend. But most people rejected the idea. The traditional date of November 11th, the anniversary of the Great War's ceasefire, was too historically important to forget. President Ford reversed the law in 1975, returning Veterans Day back to its rightful date. Over the decades, the holiday has changed with the times. Originally, it was a call for world peace. Then in the U.S., it became a day to remember war veterans. Today, Veterans Day is set aside to honor not just those who served in war, but also those who have served their nation in peace.
My name is Seth. My mom was in the Army. Her name's Shelly Schuster.
My name's Xander Kirsting and my dad was in the Air Force.
I'm Bella Solmi.
I'm Autumn Kempinen.
I'm Aubrey Kulpa.
And my father was in the Army and my grandfather was in the Air Force.
My uncle and my grandpa were in the military, and my brother's best friend is currently in the military.
Both of my grandfathers were in the military and my great uncle was in Vietnam.
I'm Andy Marcotte. My grandpa Bob was in the military, and we've had a lot of family throughout that have been in the military. I don't know, there's tons of them.
My name is Serenity Samuelson, and my great-grandpa, he's a veteran. I'm not sure what branch, but he served in World War II and he died last year, 2 weeks before Veterans Day. Yeah.
My name's Aubrey Horde and my grandpa was in the Vietnam War.
Hi, I'm Keely Hale. My grandpa served in the Korean War as a Army spy for the U.S. I also have 2 aunts that served in National Guard. I also have 2 uncles that served in the Army and Navy branches.
My name is Ian, and my grandfather used to be military, but he quit. And one of my dad's friends. That's it.
Hi, Dakota Jones, and I'm just talking about my grandfather who was in Vietnam. He actually enlisted instead of getting drafted. He was going to be drafted. If he got drafted, he would go to Nam, but instead he went to Korea. And he was one of 3 men able to click the button to launch nuclear warheads. And obviously they didn't have to use any, but still, it's pretty cool. And then my brother, who's in the National Guard, he trained in Fort Benning, and during training he crushed his leg in a tank mechanism, but luckily he was able to save it and made a full recovery, and all the doctors are all shocked that he's even able to walk at all. So that's another miracle, so that's all I got.
Melvin Hangen, great-grandpa. He was a cook in World War II, Pearl Harbor. And my Richard Henson, great-uncle, Korean War, World War II.
Hi, Christine Grover, Principal Secretary. My son Landon Grover, a lot of you remember maybe from last year, he graduated last year. He left for Marine boot camp Monday. We dropped him off in the city Sunday night and haven't heard from him since, but military, no news is good news, so go Landon, we're really proud of you, and so thankful.
I'm Dustin Jr. My grandpa served in the military, the Marine Corps, for 45 years. He was a sniper for a long time. I love to have him around. You can never really see him so much. It's fun to have him in my family and with me.
I'm Mrs. Anderson, and I'm one of the counselors here, and both my son and his fiance are in the Minnesota Army National Guard.
So I'm Lily Higgins, and my dad was an electrician for the Army, and my grandpa fought in the Battle of Normandy and a couple of other battles that I can't think of off the top of my head.
I'm Haley Peterson, and a veteran that died in my family was John Hendrickson, and he died right after World War II.
I'm Ashton Kurtok, and a person who died in my family who was a veteran is Ernest Kurtok. He was my great-grandpa.
Hi, I'm Rosa. I'm 15. I have a brother named Ben Johnson. He's in the Air Force. I know that you have to take a lot of quizzes and tests to get in there, because if you don't, you could fail, get hurt, get injured, come home, bruises, and I don't want that to happen. I'm very jealous because he's in Hawaii, which he was at home for a couple of days, but now he's gone. But I hope he stays safe.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land, and sea. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory, first to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun, flying, guarding our nation's borders, we'll be there. From Aztec shore to Arctic zone, to Europe and Far East, the flag is carried by our ships in times of war and peace. Anchors away, we will meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. From all of us at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, we would like to acknowledge all veterans for their commitment and sacrifice. Thank you for your service. Happy Veterans Day.